My name's Grayson. I am 34. 2 weeks ago, my whole damn world cracked wide open. Riley, my fiancé, my best friend, my person, we've been together nearly 7 years. We met at this davy little bar that our mutual friends used to haunt after work. I was halfway through a whiskey sour when she slid onto the stool next to me and said something snarky about my choice in music. I looked over, saw those sharp green eyes and that crooked smile, and I swear I was done for. That was it. Hooked. We moved in together. After a year, got engaged 3 years ago and kept pushing the wedding back. First it was then her dad got diagnosed with lymphoma. And then my job took a nosedive. We made it through all that. I really believed we were stronger because of it. Finally, this past summer we nailed down a date, sent out save the dates, started fighting about table settings and guest lists and who was going to watch Butcher during the honeymoon. Normal stuff, real wedding stuff. My parents, oh, they worshipped the ground. Riley walked on. My mom texted her more than she texted me. She'd call her just to chat or drag her out for brunch with her Pilates group, acting like Riley was some long-lost daughter she finally found. She used to say, "Grayson, don't screw this up. Riley's the best thing that ever happened to this family." I'd laugh it off. I mean, isn't it good when your folks like your partner? Most people would kill for that. My dad, quieter about it, would light up when Riley showed up. He'd leave me and go chat with her about roses or soil acidity or whatever gardening nonsense he was into. I always figured, hey, cool, less pressure on me to make small talk. Looking back, God, I was so blind anyway. 2 weeks ago, I was in Denver for work, scheduled to fly back Friday night, but our meetings wrapped early. Our client signed, off ahead of schedule, and I had a choice. Spend another night in a stuffy hotel or surprise. Riley, I chose the latter. I didn't tell her I was coming back early. I imagined her face when I walked in the door. Maybe a squeal, that goofy little dance she did when she was happy. I thought about grabbing Thai from that place she loved, lighting a couple candles, maybe cracking open that bottle of wine we'd been saving. I remember smiling to myself in the cab from the airport, Butcher's dumb face popping into my head. I missed that dog more than I thought I would. As I pulled into our driveway, I remember thinking, damn, I missed home, I missed her. I parked quietly, not wanting to ruin the surprise I imagined, slipping in through the back door, catching her in the kitchen, or curled up on the couch with her fuzzy blanket. Maybe take her out to dinner. I hadn't told anyone I was coming back. Early figured it'd be a fun little surprise. It was just past 300 p.m. when I pulled into the driveway. The sun was still out, casting that kind of soft glow on the house that always made it look like something out of a real estate ad, except today it felt off. There was a truck parked on the street, big, jacked up. Looked like someone overcompensating, I figured. Maybe it was a neighbor's buddy, a delivery guy, whatever. Didn't think much of it. Not at first. I let myself in through the side door. Butcher didn't come running like he usually did. That should have been my first clue. He's a 90 lb pit mix with a heart made of jelly. Anytime I walk through that door, he practically tackles me with kisses. But not that day. No jingling collar, no nails clicking on the hardwood. Then I heard it. Voices muffled, laughing. Breathy, a rhythmic kind of creaking. My stomach dropped. I stood at the foot of the stairs, listening for a second too long, telling myself maybe it was the TV. Maybe Riley was watching some dumb rom-com and forgot to pause it. Maybe. But I already knew. I walked up the stairs slow, like my body wasn't mine anymore. Like I was watching someone else do it from behind glass. The bedroom door was half open. I pushed it the rest of the way. Riley was there in bed, naked with some dude on top of her. They didn't see me at first. He had his back to me. She had her eyes closed. My brain tried to pretend it was a bad dream. Like if I just closed the door and reopened it, they'd be gone. Like I'd wake up sweating but relieved. But I didn't move. I just stood there in the doorway. She finally looked up, her eyes locked with mine, and everything froze. She screamed, shoved him off her like she just realized he was on fire. He tumbled out of bed naked as the day he was born, grabbing for his jeans with fumbling hands. Riley scrambled for the sheet. The birthday sheet, the one I bought her last year from that fancy little boutique she liked downtown. It's not what it looks like, she actually said. And I swear to God, I almost laughed, like a full psychotic laugh. It was exactly what it looked like. If anything, it was worse. I didn't yell, didn't throw a lamp or punch a hole in the wall, like some jilted movie character. I just turned around, walked downstairs, and sat on the couch. Butcher came up and laid his head on my knee. I scratched behind his ears with numb fingers upstairs. I could hear them scrambling, whispering doors, opening hangers, clattering, Riley crying. Eventually, the guy bolted down the stairs, didn't say a word, didn't look at me, just ran out the front door. Keys jangling in his hand, I didn't stop him. Couldn't care less who he was. Some rando. Maybe someone from her work. Maybe not. Didn't matter. The betrayal didn't come with a face. Riley came downstairs. 10 minutes later, wearing my navy sweatshirt, the one she always stole when she was cold. That made me angrier than everything else combined. Grayson. Her voice cracked barely above a whisper. She looked wrecked. Red eyes, hair a mess, tears still dripping. Down her face, I didn't respond. She sat across from me, hands shaking in her lap. It's not what you think. I just stared at her. Really, it's not like it's been going on for months, she said. It was, I don't know. It happened a few times. I was lonely. You're gone a lot and I messed up. She tried to reach for my hand. I pulled it back like she was poison. I still love you, she whispered. It didn't mean anything. I swear. It was just, stop, I said. My voice was low, flat. Just stop. She kept going, saying the same stuff in different ways, that she still wanted us, that it wasn't about love, just about being seen, that she felt invisible when I was away, that she didn't know how to deal with it and made the worst possible decision. I could barely hear her. My thoughts were too loud, like 1,000 little TVs playing different reruns of every memory we'd ever shared. Eventually I said, "You need to go." Her eyes widened. "What, I need space." I said, "You need to go stay somewhere else. I can't be around you right now." "But Grayson," she stood up, walking toward me again, "we need to talk about this." No," I said louder this time. "We really don't. But this is our house." "Yeah," I snapped. "And that was our bed. And you didn't seem to give a damn about that, did you?" That shut her up for a minute. The arguing went back and forth for about an hour. I kept telling her to leave. She kept saying no, then crying, then apologizing, then bargaining. Eventually she left, said she'd stay with her friend Jamie. The second the door shut behind her, I sat back down on the couch with Butcher grabbed the bottle of Glenfiddich from the cabinet, the one I'd been saving for our anniversary, and drank almost the entire bottle of whiskey. I didn't call anyone, didn't even touch my phone. What the hell was I supposed to say? Hey, just walked in on my fiancé, screwing some guy in our bed. What's new with you? I spent the night on the couch, not sleeping, not thinking clearly, just existing. Butcher barely moved from my side, occasionally lifting his head to rest it on my leg, like he could feel the storm boiling underneath my skin. The next morning, my phone was a minefield. Texts missed, calls, voicemails. Most were from Riley. A few from numbers I didn't recognize but guess were her friends. And then there were the ones from my mom. I braced myself and opened hers first. Riley told me what happened. "She's heartbroken. You need to talk to her, Grayson. People make mistakes. Don't let this break you two apart. Call me, please. She's a mess. Not a single, 'Are you okay?' Not one question about what I saw, what I felt, what I was going through. Just defend Riley." Poor Riley. I threw the phone and shoved it under the couch cushion. I couldn't deal. I called in sick. Well, texted my boss and spent the day doing a whole lot of nothing. I didn't eat, didn't shower, just sat there in my own wreckage by the time the sun dipped below the trees, and the sky turned that bruised purple. There was a knock at the door. I didn't get up. Another knock, a pause, then the sound of a key in the lock. My parents. I forgot they still had a spare from when they used to house sit for Butcher when I traveled. Grace and my mom called out, "We've been trying to reach you. Are you okay?" I stayed on the couch, eyes fixed straight ahead. They walked in, concerned looks plastered across their faces, but not the kind I expected. It wasn't, "Are you eating? Are you sleeping?" What happened? It was Riley called us. My mom said softly, sitting beside me without asking. "She's devastated," she said. "You kicked her out." My dad stood behind her, hands in his pockets. He nodded toward the half-empty bottle on the coffee table. "She told you what happened, right?" I finally said she told us she made a mistake. My dad said that she regrets it more than anything. She cheated on me. I said, voice low, in our bed while I was gone for work. Silence. Then my mom sighed. Sighed like I was being unreasonable. "That's exactly why. You need to talk to her," she said, her voice gentle like she was trying not to spook a skittish animal. "She's been under so much pressure lately, Grayson. The wedding work and you're away so often." I laughed, a short, bitter thing that didn't feel like it came from me. "So it's my fault now. I travel for my job to support both of us. And she thanks me by screwing some guy in our bed. No one's saying it's your fault," Dad said, trying to sound neutral. "But relationships take work, son. You can't throw away 7 years over one indiscretion." I stood up. "One indiscretion," I repeated. "You think this was a slip? You think I walked in on some minor mistake? You need to calm down," my mom said, rising too. "No. What I need," I snapped, "is for my own parents to stop acting like she's the victim here." "We're not taking sides," she said. "Really," I looked between them, "because it sure as hell feels like you are. Riley is family too," she said. And there it was. That line hit harder than I expected, like a punch straight to the gut. They weren't here for me, not really. They were here because they missed her. "She's family," I repeated, "but I'm your son." "Exactly," Dad said. "That's why we're here. We just don't want you to make a decision you'll regret. I've already made it." I said, "She's out. I'm done." They stood there like they were waiting for me to backpedal, to soften, to be the old version of me. They knew the one who compromised, who gave people second chances even when you shouldn't. But I didn't. "Please leave," I said quietly but firmly. Mom opened her mouth to argue again, but Dad put a hand on her arm. "Let's go," he said. "You're making a mistake," she whispered before they walked out the door. The second they were gone, I locked it behind them, unplugged the landline, and turned my phone off again. I didn't want anyone else's version of the story. I didn't want advice or pity or lectures about forgiveness from people who never saw what I saw. The next few days blurred together. I didn't return texts. I didn't check my email. I barely moved unless Butcher needed to go outside. The house smelled like whiskey and stale air. Eventually, I had to say something to my boss. Didn't go into details, just told him something personal had happened and I needed to take some personal days. I found Riley's letter the morning after she'd come by to grab her things. It was sitting on the kitchen table. The envelope bent slightly, like she'd second-guessed leaving it behind. Her handwriting on the front, "Grayson, please read." I stared at it for a long time, holding a cup of cold coffee that I had no intention of drinking. My thumb hovered near the flap, and for a split second I considered opening it, but I couldn't. Whatever she had to say, it didn't matter. She had 100 chances to talk to me before she opened her legs for someone else in our bed. A letter didn't change that I left it there. Let Butcher chew the corner later that night. My phone had become a landmine. Every time it vibrated, my stomach nodded like I was about to be punched. When my parents realized I was screening them, they got creative. Different numbers, voicemails, even texted me from my dad's work phone. Then they sent my uncle. I'd always been close with Uncle Ray. He was the kind of guy who smelled like leather and cigars and called when he saw it. He showed up with a six-pack and an expression that said, "Let's talk or sit in silence. Your choice." He didn't lecture me. Not really, just cracked open a beer and said, "Heard you've been going through it." I nodded, sinking deeper into the couch. After a while, he added, "I'm not saying you need to forgive anybody. Just sometimes people screw up in ways they wish they hadn't. I appreciated that he wasn't pushing me like the others, but even he couldn't help himself. Just think about whether this is the kind of thing someone deserves a second chance over." And I didn't answer. I just stared at the condensation dripping down my bottle and thought about how many times people get second chances that they never actually earn. Yesterday was my mom's birthday. Big family dinner at my parents' place, pot roast. Scalloped potatoes, way too many side dishes. Aunts, uncles, cousins. I hadn't seen since the last funeral. I wasn't planning to go, but then my cousin Jin texted me. "Heads up, Riley's invited. She's coming. Thought you should know that was it." The last goddamn straw. My ex who cheated on me is still being invited to family dinners to my mother's birthday, like she was the wounded one, like she belonged. So I went not to reconcile, not to be the bigger man. I went because I was tired of swallowing everything, while everyone else smiled and pretended I walked through the front door, and the living room fell into this weird pause like someone had hit mute on a movie. A few cousins nodded awkwardly. My Aunt Marcia gave me one of those tight-lipped, bless-your-heart smiles. Then I saw her Riley sitting on the couch right next to my mom like nothing ever happened, like she hadn't burned my life down with a moan and a stranger's body pressed against hers. She looked up and smiled. Smiled. Like she thought my showing up was some kind of olive branch. Dinner was unbearable. Everyone was dancing around the tension, talking about football, recipes, work gossip. But no one mentioned the giant throbbing secret hanging in the room like a chandelier, ready to fall. My mom kept watching me, then watching Riley, then me again, like she was waiting for some Disney moment, where we'd lock eyes, hold hands, and fall back in love over mashed potatoes, when we'd cleared the table and everyone was waiting. On the dessert, my mom stood and tapped her glass with her fork. Before we cut the cake, she said with a soft smile, "I just want to thank you all for being here. It means a lot, especially right now. Family's everything, and I think we all know that. Love and forgiveness are what hold us together." She looked right at me. That's when I realized this was a goddamn setup. On her birthday, she was trying to orchestrate a reunion, a public manipulation wrapped in a Hallmark speech. Something inside me snapped. I stood up, raised my glass. I'd like to make a toast too. The room went still. Riley's spine went straight, and her smile froze in place. I cleared my throat, looked straight at my mother. "To you, Mom, on your birthday, thank you for showing me exactly where I stand in this family." A few people shifted in their chairs, and to Riley, I turned to her. "Thank you for showing me who you really are before we made the mistake of getting married." Jin gasped. I heard someone drop a fork. I looked around, then said it, clear and sharp. "For those who don't know, I walked in on Riley screwing another man in our bed. 2 weeks ago, complete silence, but not a surprise. Silence just stunned like people had suspected, but now it was real. What's been even more enlightening, I continued, is realizing that my own parents seem more concerned with keeping a relationship with my cheating ex than they are with supporting their son. No one moved. They've been calling, texting, sending people over all to pressure me into forgiving her. Like finding your fiancé with someone else is the same as her." I paused, narrowing my eyes at my mother, forgetting to take out the trash. My mom opened her mouth to interrupt some half-formed protest about not here or this isn't the time, but I didn't let her get a word in. "You know what's funny?" I said, raising my voice just enough to cut through the murmurs. "Not one of you asked if I was okay. Nobody called to check on me to ask how I was doing. Not a single goddamn person." Uncle Ray shifted in his seat, looking like he wanted to crawl under the table. It was all about poor Riley. She is under so much pressure that she had to open her legs to get screwed by another man. I spat, and I need to get over it. Like I'm the unreasonable one for having a problem. With betrayal, I turned to face Riley directly, and her eyes dropped almost immediately. She knew something was coming. I found your burner phone, by the way. The one in your gym bag. I watched her body lock up. You thought I wouldn't go through your stuff. When I packed it up, her face drained of color. I know this wasn't a one-time thing. I know about him, the guy from your office, and the other one from that so-called girls' trip last summer. That trip where you came back glowing like you just discovered inner peace. I guess marathon sex sessions does that, huh? A low gasp rippled around the table. My aunt nearly dropped her wine glass. Riley opened her mouth, eyes glassy. Gray, please. No, I snapped. Don't insult both of us by pretending. This was a mistake. You lied to my face repeatedly. In my home, in our bed, my mother finally stood up clutching a napkin like it was some kind of sacred symbol. Grayson, this isn't the time. No, Mom, I said, this is exactly the time. You wanted your family together. Congratulations. Here we are. I scanned the room, taking in the wide eyes and pursed lips and shifting glances. So, thanks for the dinner, I said, pulling my wallet out and fishing out the house key. But I won't be staying for dessert. I placed the key on the table between the salt shaker and a stack of coasters that read, "Family is forever." I smiled bitterly at the irony, and just to be crystal clear, we're done, all of us. And then I turned and walked out behind me. Chaos bloomed like fireworks. My mom crying, my dad calling my name, a cacophony of relatives trying to talk over each other, some gasping, some scolding one of my cousins saying, "Holy shit," under her breath like she'd just watched an HBO series finale. I made it to the driveway. The air was sharp like it hadn't caught up to the heat inside yet. Then I heard her. "Gayson, please, Riley." She came running after me, barefoot on the pavement, mascara trailing down her cheeks like war paint. "Wait, please. Let me explain." I kept walking. "They meant nothing," she cried. "It was stupid. I was stupid. I never stopped loving you. I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling, quit my job. I don't care. Please, don't walk away." I reached my car, opened the door and looked at her. Really looked at her. She was broken in all the ways I used to rush to fix. But this time, I had nothing left. It meant everything I said quietly, you just didn't care. Then I got in, closed the door, and drove away. That was last night. Now I'm in a hotel room with beige walls, bad art, and a bed that smells like industrial detergent. But at least it's mine. Butcher's curled up at the foot of it, his ears, twitching in his sleep like he's chasing squirrels in his dreams. He's the only one in this whole damn mess who didn't ask me to pretend. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing. Messages from family. Some of them saying they're proud of me. Some saying, went too far, that I embarrassed everyone, that I should have handled it privately. My parents have called, I don't know, 30 times now. Haven't answered a single one. Riley blocked. I know I went nuclear. I know I blew everything up at a family gathering, in front of half the people who changed my diapers and sent me birthday cards. But the thing is, I couldn't keep pretending. I couldn't sit there one more second while they all smiled at her like nothing happened, while they made me feel like the bad guy for not being ready to forgive a serial liar. For once I stopped swallowing it all just to keep the peace. Was I an idiot for blowing up at a family dinner? No, absolutely not. Do I regret it? Not one bit. Butcher's mine, legally, emotionally. Spiritually, however you want to put it, I had him before Riley ever moved in. Every vet visit, every license, every form has my name on it. He's chipped to me, and he never liked her all that much anyway, which in hindsight probably should have told me something. The burner phone was a revelation, but not in the way people imagine. I wasn't shocked. I was hollow. The text messages dated back nearly 2 years. 2 years. It was like looking through a window into a whole life I didn't even know existed. The guy from her office, the one from her trip to Tulum. A third dude I couldn't fully identify, just saved as Jay. I read enough to confirm what I needed. Screenshots were taken. The phone is now with my lawyer. No, I don't think I'll change my mind. About reconciliation. Some things can't be fixed. Not with therapy, not with promises, not even with time. When someone slices you open that deeply, it doesn't scab its scars. To the people telling me I shouldn't cut off my whole family, I didn't. Not everyone. Some of my cousins reached out. Even my Uncle Pete Mom's older brother texted the night. It all blew up. Just you? Okay? Nothing performative. No advice. Just a check-in. Over the last few weeks, though, my parents have gone full pressure cooker mode. They've activated the family network. Suddenly, everyone from Great Aunt Linda to my childhood babysitter is concerned and thinks I should just sit down and talk it out. Like this is some kind of sitcom misunderstanding and not the full-on betrayal of my relationship and personal dignity. Then Uncle Pete showed up. I was halfway through a cold bagel in the hotel lobby when I saw him walking toward me, looking uncharacteristically serious. I stood up fast. Heart pounding, I hadn't told anyone where I was staying. And suddenly here he was. "Hey," he said, holding up his hands like I was a skittish animal. "Don't freak out. Your cousin Jaime. Let it slip. She didn't mean to. I made her promise not to tell your mom." I sat down, still tense. "I'm going to be honest, Uncle Pete. This feels a little intrusive. I get that. But I'm not here to push you. I'm not here on behalf of the family." That made me pause. He took the seat across from me. I came because, well, I went through something real, similar back in '96. My first wife, Sheila, she cheated on me with a guy from her aerobics class. Denied it for a year, then left me for him. Whole family told me to forgive, to be the bigger person. He shook his head slowly. Worst mistake I ever made was listening to them. Cost me years. I didn't say anything for a moment, just sat there staring at the cream cheese packet in my hand. He kept going. "I saw what happened at that dinner, and you didn't go nuclear. You told the truth loudly. That's different." That hit me harder than I expected. I swallowed and nodded. Once, then he did something unexpected. He offered me a place to stay. "If you want to get out of the city for a bit," he said. "My lake house is empty this time of year. Keys are yours if you want him." That offer's been sitting in the back of my mind ever since. Meanwhile, Riley's gone off the deep end, full desperation mode. I've got flowers showing up at my office every other day like it's Valentine's Day on repeat. She sent emails to my work account after I blocked her personal one. And then the singing telegram not a singing telegram in 2025. The poor guy was dressed like some 1950s dupe. Reject awkwardly shuffling through a cringy song about second chances in the hotel lobby. He clearly hated every second of it. I cut him off halfway through. "Dude, you're getting paid either way, right?" I asked. "Oh yeah. Then consider your mission accomplished." He looked relieved when I turned and walked away. Then came the letter. 6 pages typed double-spaced. She probably thought that made it more professional. The first 3 pages were pure excuse factory. How I was emotionally unavailable. How I put my career first. How she felt lonely. Classic poor me language, like screwing 4 different guys in 2 years was somehow a cry for help. She admitted to the affairs, at least claimed they were just physical. Like that was supposed to make it better. But the real gut punch was the last paragraph she wrote, and I quote, "I've already forgiven you for how you embarrassed me at the family dinner, and I'm ready to begin couples therapy whenever you are." The audacity, I stared at that line for a long time. Not angry, just stunned, like someone slapped me with a pillow that had a brick hidden inside. I met with my lawyer the next day about the house. Since we weren't married, but both our names are on the mortgage. It's complicated. The cleanest path might be to sell and split the proceeds. It's going to hurt in this market. But honestly, I'd rather take the hit than be tethered to her any longer than necessary. Most of my stuff is still at the house. My clothes, some books, the watch. My grandfather left me things I care about, things she doesn't even notice. I'm planning to go this weekend with a couple of close friends to help me pack what I need. I've arranged for Riley to be gone during that time. It's weird how fast your life can become, completely unrecognizable. Just a few months ago I thought I had a partner, a home, a future I could trust. Now, I'm sitting on a hand-me-down couch in a half-unpacked apartment that smells like fresh paint and old carpet cleaner watching Butcher chew on the same mangled duck toy he's had since he was a pup. And honestly, I'm more at peace than I've been in years. The day after my lawyer contacted Riley's, yeah, she went and got one too. I finally started seeing the outlines of a life without her. And it felt doable. Hard, sure, lonely sometimes, but doable. Then the messages started up again, this time from my mom. She texted first. I found a really nice all-inclusive in Mexico. Just hear Riley out one more time and I'll book it for you, eh? Little sun and sand could do wonders for your perspective. I stared at my screen for a long time. Like she thought my issue with Riley could be fixed by a margarita and a tan. When I didn't respond, my dad called. I didn't pick up the first 2 times, but the third time I answered, maybe out of curiosity. Maybe I just wanted to hear how bad it could get. You're really going to throw away your future over pride? He barked the second I said, "Hello, your mother's heart is breaking." Grayson Enfory, what a mistake. Riley made people make mistakes. A mistake is leaving the milk out overnight. I said, a mistake is not sleeping with 4 different guys over 2 years and lying about it while pretending to build a life with me. You're being dramatic, he snapped. You'll regret this when you're older and ready to settle down again. You'll look back and realize what you threw away. I am throwing away a bitch, I said, and hung up. And that was it. I'd had enough. That night I sat down and wrote them both a long email. I didn't even plan to, it just poured out of me. I told them everything. Every time they brushed off my concerns. Every time they talked about Riley like she was a damn saint while treating me like the unreasonable one. I reminded them how they sided with her when I said I didn't like how she flirted with that guy at the wedding. How they told me I was overreacting when she blew up at me for asking about her weekend plans. How even after the truth came out, they still asked me to fix it. I ended it by saying that if they wanted any relationship with me in the future, they needed to respect my boundaries. And those boundaries included 0 tolerance for Riley being in my life again ever. Dad responded within 10 minutes. One line, "You'll regret this when you're ready to settle down again and realize what you threw away." I sat there staring at the screen, heart pounding. But instead of pain, all I felt was clarity. That one line told me everything I needed to know about how little they ever really saw me. The next day I signed the lease on a new apartment month a little far from work, but they allowed dogs, and that was non-negotiable. Butcher and I moved in 2 days later. It's not much, but it's mine. For the first time in weeks, I've been sleeping through the night. I also started reaching out to some friends Riley had managed to edge out of my life without ever directly saying, "Don't hang out with them." It was more subtle than that, a curled lip, a comment like, "She seems like she's still into you," or, "You know, it's weird how often she texts." And like an idiot, I believed it. I believed her. Last night, I met up with Maya and Jules, 2 of the people Riley always found a reason to dislike. We went out for drinks, and honestly, I laughed more in 2 hours than I have in the past 2 years. Jules leaned across the table at one point, grinning Grayson. "I swear it's like you've come back to life." "Yeah," Maya added, raising her glass to freedom, "and very good dogs to Butcher," I said, clinking my glass. When I got home, Butcher was waiting at the door tail, thumping hard against the wall. I crouched to pet him, and he leaned his weight into me like he always does when he senses I need grounding. "You're the only one who's been honest with me this whole time, huh?" I whispered, pressing my forehead to his. "You always knew something was off." "And I swear," he huffed like he agreed. It hit me, then that Butcher never really liked cuddling. With Riley, I'm officially moved into my new apartment. It's smaller, sure half the size of the house Riley and I shared, but it already feels more like home than that place did in the final months. There's something comforting about starting over. On your own terms, the walls are still bare. The kitchen's only stocked with ramen and a half-dozen coffee mugs, but it's mine. Butcher settled in faster than I expected. There's a dog park right across the street, and every morning he bolts to the door, leashing mouth like he's been waiting for this chapter all along. The place echoes a little without all the furniture, but his tail thumps on the hardwood like a metronome. It's grounding. Moving day, though, that was tense. We'd worked everything out. Through the lawyers, times, dates, even a list of who gets what. It was all supposed to be straightforward, but of course Riley found a way to twist that too. Halfway through the afternoon, she just showed up, pulled into the driveway like nothing was wrong. I was in the middle of boxing up the kitchen when Sam, who'd been helping me, appeared in the doorway. "Hey," she said quietly. Riley's here." I froze, dish towel in hand. "She's what out front says she needs to grab some documents. Johnny's trying." To keep her out of the way, I stepped outside just in time to hear Riley's voice, sharp with desperation. "I just need 5 minutes. Grayson, I have work stuff upstairs. Important stuff. You're not supposed to be here," I said flatly. She blinked at me already, tear-eyed. "Of course, this is still my house too." She said, "I didn't think it would be a crime to come get my things." Sam moved between us, arms crossed, firm but calm. We agreed this wasn't the time for that. "You had days to come get what you needed today. Is Grayson's time." Riley's gaze flicked toward me. I don't understand how you can be so cold. You're taking everything, the TV, the couch, hell, even the spice rack. It's like you're erasing us. I kept my hands busy taping another box shut, folding the flaps like I couldn't hear her. "You mean the TV I bought before we even moved in together?" I said, still not looking at her. Her eyes narrowed, lips trembling, just enough to signal the oncoming storm. "You think this makes you the bigger person. You think packing up your things and walking away makes you right. I think it means I'm done letting you manipulate me," I said quietly. And then the kicker, she had the audacity to say, "You should leave Butcher with me. He needs stability, right?" No, that stopped me cold. I turned to her, slow, calm, steady. "Butcher stays with me. You don't get to talk about what he needs. You never even liked walking him." Johnny snorted from the U-Haul, not even trying to hide it. She tried to hold my gaze, but when I didn't flinch, she looked away. Sam gently steered her back toward her car. "The house feels like a ghost now. Her ghost and mine. I don't think I'll ever drive past it again once the legal stuff's done. Speaking of which, the house situation is its own mess. Her parents offered to buy out my half, which sounded convenient at first, but their offer was a joke, way under market value. My lawyer took one look and said, 'Don't even dignify this with a reply, we'll counter.' And now she's living there alone, and I'm still on the hook for half the mortgage. It's temporary, but man, it stinks. Paying for a place that no longer feels anything like mine." Then came the real kicker. Last weekend, my Uncle Pete, my one lifeline in this family, invited me over for dinner. He grilled steaks, cracked a few beers, and we sat out on his deck like we used to when I was a kid. After a while, he cleared his throat. "Grayson, you ever wonder why your folks were so dead set on you marrying?" Riley, I laughed bitterly every damn day. "Well," he hesitated, took a swig of his beer and then laid it out. "Your dad's business started going under back in 2022. Quietly real bad. Riley's dad stepped in, loaned them a chunk of money, big chunk." I blinked at him. How big? Nearly 300 grand. The air left my lungs like I'd been sucker punched. "They've been surviving on Riley's family's money," I asked, voice low. Pete nodded. "Your mom didn't want you to know." "Hell, I didn't know until I overheard your dad arguing with Riley's dad at your birthday dinner. After you left, I sat there stunned. Everything started to click. The pressure, The guilt trips, my dad's explosive anger when I wouldn't fix things, my mom trying to bribe me with a vacation if I'd just talk. To Riley one more time. It wasn't about love, it was about debt. I sent another email to my parents the next day, still not ready to talk face to face. I asked them directly if it was true, if they had sold out my future for their security. At first, they denied it, said Uncle Pete was misinformed. But a few hours later, my dad finally replied, said, yes, it was true that they had borrowed the money that they were going to tell me eventually. And then he added, it didn't affect our advice about Riley. It still blows my mind that my own parents sold me out for a loan. Every time I think about it, I get this hollow feeling in my chest, like someone carved out a piece of me I didn't even realize I needed 34 years of being their son. And it turns out I was just collateral for their financial survival. I remember reading my dad's email response after I confronted them. I had been sitting on my living room floor, half a pizza getting cold on the counter, butcher's head in my lap, like he could sense the storm coming. My dad tried to spin it like they were planning to tell me eventually, as if there would ever be a right time to admit you've been emotionally manipulating your kid to keep the cash flowing. Dad's email. We didn't want to burden you with the details while you were going through so much. We were going to tell you, Grayson, it wasn't relevant to our advice about Riley. We thought she was good for you. What a load of crap. They didn't think she was good for me. They thought she was good for them. Now they've pivoted to a new tactic, the heartbroken, abandoned parents routine. My cousin Becky called me last night, voice low, like she was trying to soften the blow. Becky, Grayson, I don't know what's going on exactly, but Aunt Marla's been a wreck. She said you cut them off completely. She's telling everyone you've disowned the family over some misunderstanding with Riley. I responded, a misunderstanding. They were financially tethered to my ex's family and lied to me for years. That's not a misunderstanding, Becky, that's betrayal. Becky responded. I get it. I just wanted to hear your side. I'm sorry you're going through all this. I thanked her. She meant well, but every call like that chips away at whatever's left of the foundation I used to call family. My mom's, apparently, been crying to every second cousin and Facebook friend about how I threw away 34 years of family over a girl. The irony would be hilarious if it didn't sting so much. On the Riley front, things have taken a darker turn. She finally seems to get that. I'm not bluffing, not waiting around to forgive her again. The tone of her messages has shifted. Les, please talk to me more. You'll regret this. Last week she called HR at my job and tried to claim I'd been harassing her. I got pulled into my boss's office, heart racing, but he closed the door behind us and said, "You've been straight with me from day one, Grayson, we've got your back." HR documented the call, but nothing's going anywhere. Relief doesn't even begin to describe it. But still, the fact that she'd stooped that low made my skin crawl. Then came the story she told my sister. Some BS about finding concerning texts on my phone that suggested I cheated. Luckily, my sister's not easily swayed. She's spiraling gray. She said she ran into me by accident, but she was clearly trying to plant something. I didn't buy a word of it. Just wanted you to know. I thanked her and said I appreciated her having my back. And then just when I thought the worst had passed, Riley emailed me to say she might be pregnant. No subject line, just a few lines of calculated vagueness, and a little, "We need to talk" at the end. I didn't even flinch, just forwarded the whole thing to my lawyer. We haven't been intimate in a long time, and certainly not close enough to when she would have conceived. So either it's a lie or not. My problem. My lawyer told me not to reply. And if she pushes it, we'll handle it with a court-requested paternity test. On the flip side of all this madness, there have been a few bright spots. I started therapy. The first session was nerve-wracking. I half expected to sit there in silence, unsure where to start, but my therapist has this calm presence, and by the end of the session it felt like I'd been carrying boulders on my back without even realizing it. We started unpacking patterns, how I've been conditioned for years to prioritize the needs of Riley, of my parents. Over my own people-pleasing wasn't just a habit, it was survival. I'm learning now to catch myself before I slip into those reflexes again. To pause, breathe, and ask myself, what do I actually want? And when my boss offered to transfer to the new office in the other city, 300 meters away, I said yes. It's a big move, but it feels right. The promotion means more money. The distance means a fresh start, and knowing I chose it not out of desperation, but out of self-respect feels powerful. I start in 3 weeks. Uncle Pete has been a rock through all of this. When I told him about the transfer, he didn't give me any "Are you sure?" speech, just nodded and said, "Uncle Pete, about damn time you started doing things for you. Proud of you, kid." He even offered to store some of the bigger furniture I can't take with me. No strings, no judgment, just support. God, I needed that. As for my friends, the line's been drawn in the sand. Some of the mutuals went with Riley parading her version of the story like she was the poor victim of one little mistake. But others, Sam, Johnny, a few others, they've been solid. They check in, they listen, they remind me I'm not crazy for walking away. And the betrayal, the hurt, it's still there. It still hits me some nights when I least expect it. Folding laundry, brushing my teeth, trying to fall asleep, but those moments are becoming less frequent. It's surreal, really, how much can change in a few months. When I think back to where I was, not that long ago, confused, betrayed, stuck in that cycle of pleasing people who never truly saw me. It feels like I'm remembering someone else's life, but it was mine, every painful second of it. Therapy's been a game changer. I've learned how much I've let guilt and obligation shape my choices. I was always the fixer, the buffer, the son who didn't rock the boat. With Riley, the pattern continued. I twisted myself to keep the peace ignored. Red flags forgave too quickly. I've started confronting all of that. Now, for the first time in years, I'm making decisions based solely on me. What I want, what I need not. What would keep the peace or make someone else feel comfortable? It's uncomfortable, but damn, it's liberating. Butcher's been my rock. Through all this, that dog's got a sixth sense for when I need company and when I need quiet. I've started taking him on long hikes every weekend. Something Riley used to complain endlessly about. Why do you have to drag us out into the woods every weekend? She'd huff, adjusting her sunglasses. It's just dirt and bugs. Well, turns out Butcher disagrees. He lives for the mountain trails, ears perked, tongue out, darting up and down the inclines, like he was born for it. And in those quiet hours out, in the woods, I find something close to peace. As for the move, it was the right call. New City has been good to me. I've been here 6 weeks, and the difference in my life is night and day. The job's more intense, but in the right way. I'm leading a small team on a major project that actually feels meaningful. They respect me, my ideas, and not one person in the office has tried to gaslight me or minimize my feelings. My apartment finally feels like mine. I swapped out the couch Riley picked, painted, over the neutral beige with deep ocean blue, hung up photos from my hiking trips. My home office is set up exactly how I want it, with zero input from anyone else. Even Butcher seems happier. There's a great dog park 5 minutes away, and he's got a whole little gang now, which means I've unintentionally joined the dog parent circle. Made a couple casual friends that way. No drama, no tension. Just people who also like throwing tennis balls and chatting in the sun. The house situation finally resolved. After months of exhausting negotiations, Riley's parents bought out my half at fair market value. My lawyer handled everything like a pro. I can't stress enough how grateful I am for his patience. The money's been deposited, and with it that chapter is well and truly closed. Of course, Riley couldn't resist one last stunt. About a month ago, I got an email with the subject line, "We need to talk." I knew better than to open it right away. Forwarded it to my lawyer, just like he taught me. The email said she was pregnant, a maybe. No details, just vague emotional appeals. The timeline made no sense. We hadn't been intimate for weeks before I discovered the affair. My lawyer told me not to engage. If she persists, he said, well, file a formal paternity request. Until then, assume it's a manipulation attempt. A few days later, another email from her, this time saying she'd lost the baby due to stress. Again, forwarded again. No response. The silence must have gotten to her, because shortly after that, mutual friends told me she's already dating someone new. Gym guy, apparently she met him a few weeks after our breakup. Poor bastard doesn't know what's coming. For a fleeting moment, I considered reaching out, sending a message, something simple like, run, but I stopped myself. It's not my place anymore. Riley's life isn't my concern, and honestly, I wanted to stay that way. The biggest shift, though, the one I wasn't ready for, was my family. After nearly 3 months of cold silence, unanswered texts, and carefully dodged phone calls, they showed up unannounced at my new apartment. It's hard to put into words the sense of release that came with my parents showing up at my door. I had been bracing for this moment, knowing it would happen eventually. Uncle Pete called me the day before, warning me that they'd track down my new address. And I won't lie, it made me want to barricade myself inside and pretend like they weren't coming. But I knew that wasn't an option. I'd already made my peace with this, the idea that I'd have to set boundaries, make them uncomfortable, maybe even force them to face some truths that I'd buried myself for so long. And as much as I wanted to avoid them, I also knew it was time to have this conversation. I opened the door to find them standing there. My dad with his hands shoved in his jacket pockets, trying to act casual, and my mom looking like she'd just come from a long emotional battle. Her eyes were red, like she hadn't been sleeping. "Grayson," she whispered, her voice shaky, "you look good." There was a long pause, and I didn't know how to respond at first. I hadn't seen them in months, and so much had changed. My dad, on the other hand, simply nodded, his face tight but composed. "Can we talk?" He asked, his words more of a statement than a question. We went inside, and I made coffee strong and black, just how I like it, but the air between us felt anything but warm. We sat down in silence for a moment, before my father finally spoke, his voice softer than I expected. "Son, I need to apologize," he said. His hands were resting on his knees, looking old in a way I hadn't noticed before. "I think we misjudged things with Riley. We let the financial situation cloud our judgment. We didn't listen to you when you tried to tell us what was happening." I hadn't expected that my dad wasn't the type to admit when he was wrong, especially about something like this, but there it was. I stared at him, searching for sincerity in his eyes, and for the first time in years, I felt like he wasn't just defending himself. My mother sniffled. "I miss you, Grayson," she said, her voice trembling. "I've missed having you in our lives." "Why, I felt a pain in my chest, but I didn't let myself soften. Not this time. It was too soon, and I needed to make it clear that I wouldn't just fall back into the role I'd played for so long. "I'm willing to rebuild our relationship," I said, keeping my tone even, but firm. "But it will never be the same. I need boundaries, and I need you to respect my decisions without trying to change my mind." They both nodded, though my mom looked like she wanted to protest, but I didn't give her the chance. "I won't discuss Riley with you," I continued. "Ever. I won't attend family events where she is, and I'm not going to keep pretending that I'm okay with the way you've handled things." To my surprise, my father just sat back in his chair and sighed, then admitted Riley's father wrote off the loan after it became clear that the wedding wouldn't happen. "We're not tied to them anymore, but we've still got our own financial struggles." I had a hard time feeling sympathy. After everything that happened, hearing him acknowledge their responsibility felt too little too late. But I kept it in check. "Okay, but I need you to understand that I'm not going to be a part of that world anymore. I'm done." It was a hard conversation, but it needed to happen, and despite the discomfort, we ended the visit on somewhat of a hopeful note, a tentative plan to meet for dinner next month, when I'm back in town for work. It felt like a small step, but it was progress. And for now, that was enough. Therapy has been a constant companion through all this. The sessions have opened my eyes in ways I didn't expect. I've started recognizing patterns, especially in my relationship with Riley and my parents, that I'd never seen before. I'd been trained almost to seek validation from others, whether it was Riley's approval or my parents' expectations. I had ignored my own needs for so long that it felt like a foreign concept to focus on me, but now I can see it. I can feel it when I'm slipping back into that people-pleasing role. It's uncomfortable as hell, but it's also liberating to say no, to say this is mine, this is what I want. But I've also started dating again. Nothing serious, just casual coffee dates, drinks with interesting people. It's strange after 7 years with Riley. The freedom feels like a breath of fresh air. And I'm approaching this whole thing differently. I'm setting clearer boundaries. No more sacrificing my own happiness to fit someone else's mold. Some days are still tough, no matter how much progress I've made. I'll be walking through the city or I'll hear a song, and out of nowhere a memory hits me like a ton of bricks. Maybe it's a place we used to go, or a small detail that reminds me of what I thought my life would be. A version of myself that's gone now. It's those ambushes of memory that make the hurt feel fresh again. Even when I've done so much work to heal, but I don't feel like I'm drowning anymore. That's a big difference. The anger has mostly faded into something quieter. It's more like a kind of sad wisdom now. I see how much I trusted too easily, how I ignored the red flags because I was so desperate to hold on to something I thought was love. And I allowed myself to be manipulated by people who claimed to care about me. But that's in the past. Now I'm not waking up every day to the weight of regret and rage. I've taken all of that, the confusion and the pain. And I've started building something new, something that's mine. I'm living a life designed by me, not dictated by anyone else's expectations. I think that's the biggest change. I'm finally making choices based on what brings me joy and peace. Not what I think I should do for others. Butcher has been my constant through it all. He's been there unconditionally, a reminder that even when everything else feels out of control, there's always a steady presence to turn to. One of the most grounding things I've done for myself in all this is writing these updates. It's funny how sharing this process with people I don't even know has been such a therapeutic experience. When I first started sharing, I didn't realize how much it would help me to just put everything down in words, the comments, the support. It was like having a mirror held up to me, showing me that I wasn't overreacting, that I wasn't being unreasonable and protecting myself. It gave me a kind of clarity, a reaffirmation that I could trust myself. That's something I'd lost for a long time, trusting myself. But now I know better. I'll face whatever comes next with clearer eyes, stronger boundaries, and always Butcher. I've had some tough decisions to make lately, and one of the hardest was what to do about Riley's new boyfriend. At first I hesitated, thinking it wasn't my place to intervene, but after I sat with it, I realized I would want someone to tell me if I were in his position. So I did it. I sent him a simple, factual message. I didn't try to be dramatic, just sent the evidence screenshots of the burner phone texts. What he did with that was on him. I wasn't in control of that, but I knew it was the right thing to do. The relationship with my parents is still fragile, but it's improving. We've had 2 dinners now, and I'm not going to lie, they've been awkward at times. There are still things we don't know how to talk about. Things that sit between us like an elephant, but we're communicating more honestly than we have in years. That's progress. It's slow, but it's there. As for the pregnancy, there was no pregnancy, Riley admitted. It was all a lie. A mutual friend confronted her about it, and she admitted it was just a manipulation tactic. I guess it says something that I wasn't even shocked. If anything, it just reinforced everything I'd learned during the relationship, that Riley would do anything to keep control. I'm just glad that's behind me now. I'm a lot happier now than I was a year ago. Even with all the upheaval, the mess, the pain, I've come out on the other side, and I'm standing in a better place. Sometimes it feels like the hardest decisions lead to the best outcomes. I couldn't have imagined where I'd be a year ago, but I'm here now, and I'm moving forward one day at a time. And yes, Butcher is still the goodest boy. He's thriving as much as I am. Every weekend we go on longer hikes, explore new trails, and he's always right by my side, wagging his tail like he's the happiest dog in the world. And honestly, I think he might be. The sun was low one afternoon when we made our way up a trail I hadn't hiked before. The light filtered through the trees, casting a golden glow over everything. Butcher's fur gleamed in the sunlight as he bounded ahead, tail wagging, like it was his job to be the happiest dog alive. He looked back at me as if to say, "Hurry up, Grayson. The trail's waiting." I snapped a picture of him as he stood on a rock overlooking the mountain stretching out below us. It was one of those moments where everything felt right. Just me, Butcher, in the open air. No past, no baggage, just the present, and the beauty of being here now. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that life has a funny way of working itself out when you least expect it. And sometimes, the most unexpected things, like a happy golden retriever on a mountain trail, are exactly what you need to remind you that everything will be okay. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.